This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And if you book 4 or more nights on a qualifying package by April 30th, 2010, you're going to be getting a free 1-year subscription to touringplans.com, which, of course, is the site for the 2010 unofficial guide to Walt Disney World, where you'll be able to access all the touring plans your little heart could ever imagine. In fact, you can access the crowd calendar for the whole year. That's right. No more emailing Fred Hazelton and asking him for a secret. Nope. Oh, that's right, Mick. You said it. That's right. Book any 4 or more night qualifying package with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel by April 30th, 2010, and get a free 1-year subscription to touringplans.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, March 25th, 2010, and this is episode 698 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hochberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
I'm afraid I've done something wrong. I made my handle like yours, but somehow it looks different on my picture. What's wrong?
Whoa. One man's dream.
No.
I don't know. I gotta.
The RCA home of future living.
Oh.
RCA leads the way.
It was the first anyone had ever seen anything that would remotely resemble like a virtual classroom or a distance learning environment.
Now that you say that, I remember it. Yes. That's awesome.
Our next panelist is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Yes, a sick Mike Newell is here, but I am here nonetheless.
As in Twisted?
Well, that
Exactly.
too. But,
Twisted Sister.
well, that too. But
I had a friend that got beat up by D. Snyder once in a concert. It's a great story. Remember
you gotta be. Is that true?
Honest to God, he was to digress. Welcome to Rolling Stone's podcast this week. He was a big Twisted Sister fan during the first album or so. They came in during like the third album. He didn't like the new music, so he kind of sat around passively waiting to play their old stuff. And he was sitting front row, and finally D. Snyder, after a while, got out and jumped down on the stage and said, "Dude, we're trying our best. What do you want from us?" It was great.
Wow.
He said, that's when he realized how big D. Snyder really was.
Was he wearing the football pads?
He was, actually. He was in the full concert gear, and he said, "Dude, what do you want from us? We're doing the best we can."
I guess he wasn't going to take it anymore.
If I had a nickel for every time we said that. Oh, yeah.
Also joining us on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of the unofficial guide to Walt Disney World. Welcome, Mike.
Wait. If I may, it's Len Tonto Testa.
That's right.
If I may. Go ahead.
There was so for our listeners who've just tuned in, a couple weeks ago when I had to send Matt a tent for Tent Fest, you guys should go back and listen to the episodes. But I addressed the tent to Matty Cakes Hochberg, and so then, which I guess the UPS guy had quite a bit of fun with when he dropped it off. So I was disappointed when Matt sent me back my tent and did not address it to Len Tonto Testa, because I thought that would have been funny. Anyway,
I dropped the ball. Sorry.
It dropped the ball, exactly. You didn't want to have to explain to the UPS guy picking up.
You never even had it.
Also joining us on today's show is the fabulous Annette Owens, a manager of customer relations and group services for MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Welcome, Annette.
Hey, hopefully we're going to start talking about Disney and not.
I know, we're like 4 minutes
The
in.
longest
Stands
introduction
going.
in
One of these days,
podcast
I'll start throwing names out at you guys. You know.
And that about does it for today's show.
Mencken, the Wangello.
On today's show, we're answering your listener questions, and we're going to start out with a question from Kim K. from Maryland, a.k.a. Charybdis. And, of course, that's from Team Newell, I believe.
Kimberly
Cool.
Knight.
Yes.
Yeah, Kimberly.
I want to be on Mike Newell's team.
That's right.
Yeah,
right.
Mike Newell's. Oh, at Tent Fest.
Kimberly at Tent Fest picked Mike to be on Mike Newell's team during the team challenge.
Yes.
Must have been that Michael Jackson song you picked. Which one did you pick, Mike?
I picked Human Nature, and I think that touched
Why?
the heart.
Yeah,
That's a good
how
song.
could she turn down Thriller? I said Thriller. How could she
That's a
turn
good
down
song. Thriller's played. Come on.
Kim writes, just finished listening to solo
Hi,
travel
Kim.
and resort recommendations. Great shows. Have to chime in about the Swan and Dolphin. Stop picking on them, Matt. Their resort fee covers 2 bottles of water, wireless internet, and it's perfectly situated. Even with the fees, it's a great deal, and your dollars there are recognized by Starwood as part of their guest loyalty program. 3 things so far that Disney doesn't offer for hotel stays if you're keeping count. LOL. Oh, and for the second year in a row, they've offered a significant discount on a second room for families who need more space. That makes 4. I've stayed there for 4 of my last 5 trips to Disney World. I was solo for good portions of 3 of those trips, and a woman traveling alone, I appreciated the interior hallways. I know it's Disney, but I feel secure anyway, and it doesn't cost me $300 a night minimum to do so.
Kim's just brilliant. She really is.
Yeah. You know, I got to give a shout out to Kim. I watched Illuminations with her one night at TenFest, and we talked about this, and she knows what she's talking about. She travels a lot, and she has made a lot of good points many times about Swan and Dolphin. So I second and third and quadruple everything that she has said.
Well, here's the thing with the Swan and Dolphin that bothers me. It's the fees that they charge. Basically, you have to pay for parking fee and you have to pay a resort fee. And the thing with it is that if you want to charge those things, that's fine. Just make it part of the rate that you pay per night. Just roll it in there. Because that's what it's for. Obviously, what I'm paying to stay at the hotel does not cover just the cost of my room. It pays for some of the employees. It pays for maintenance. It pays for
snow removal in the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly. It pays for all those things. But when they add those, when you get in, oh, by the way, you have to pay for parking. Oh, by the way, you have to pay the resort fee. It just feels like it's nickel and diming to me. And I would prefer if they're going to do that, fine. Just roll it into the fee. Don't keep on adding these fees and then advertise a rate that's lower than it really is.
So in other words, you're not real thrilled with most of the airlines either, huh?
Yeah. And again, in Swan and Dolphin's defense, there are many other resorts that do. The Gaylord Palms, for instance, does the same thing, and I don't agree with it either.
Yeah, but they have heavenly beds.
Well, there you go.
Is that?
Kim writes, I'd also like to suggest to my fellow lady adventurers out there that a great way to solo travel and not feel alone is to go to Walt Disney World during a fan event. I did the December solo for 2 days and 10 fests completely on my own. You'd be amazed how quickly you make friends. Everyone was super nice, and you just got it. It made for excellent adventures. I had so much fun at TenFest, and I made even more Disney friends. As the show becomes more, shall we say, mature, it's been great to see events like this, plus the WDW Today experience. Thanks for that, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Kim.
Love you, Kim.
That was nice. Had fun hanging with Kim.
Oh, she's awesome. We hung out with her at Illuminations during reunion, which was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, she's okay.
Hey,
I gotta, even it out here. That's all.
It's just all about balance.
That's why she didn't pick you, Matt. That is why she didn't pick you.
You're the
among other reasons.
You're the equal time. You're the equal time reporting, Matt. Everything that we say that's good, you have to balance us.
That's right.
You're equal time.
That's right. I'm balancing the universe 1%
This
at a
bad
time.
cop, good cop, like Wilbon.
That's right. Next email is from Mary Beth, who writes, our family will be visiting the Magic Kingdom April 7th through 8th. We arrived from California on the 6th, and we're planning to hit the Magic Kingdom by noon on Wednesday, April 7th. The park is open until 11 o'clock p.m. We can only spend 1 day at the park. We figure that since our kids will be on California time, it won't be a disaster to keep them up late, but the crowds will be terrible. But will the crowds be terrible if we arrive midday? Should we consider hanging out at the Hotel Wilderness Lodge on Wednesday and going all day to the Magic Kingdom on Thursday instead? We need to drive up to St. Augustine on Thursday night regardless. Any insight to this neophyte would be helpful.
Man, that's tricky because that's Easter week, right? It's the week after Easter. It's going to be fairly crowded. Packed actually. What I would say is, even though you get there in the afternoon, you are going to be able to get Fast Pass for a couple of attractions. And I would use the time that you have to get in some of the secondary shows, things like Hall of Presidents, Enchanted Tiki Room. Actually, Jungle Cruise probably not a bad idea. Pirates of the Caribbean, sort of the attractions that have large capacities and generally are good choices during the middle of the day. And then on Thursday morning, if you're staying at Wilderness Lodge, you can use the morning extra magic hour to get through Fantasyland and Tomorrowland and the areas that crowd up faster then. So spend your afternoon. By the way, there's actually a touring plan on the website that's an afternoon and a full day in the park. I would definitely recommend that in terms of general strategy.
But Len, on a magic, extra magic morning for the Magic Kingdom, if you had a choice between starting at Fantasy starting at Tomorrowland, would you start at Tomorrowland or would you start at Fantasyland?
It's a good question, actually. Depending on how old your kids are. If you've got younger kids and they're not going to be able to ride Space Mountain, then Fantasyland is the way to go.
Yeah. But if you have two sets, like if you got preteens and teens, you may want to send the teens to Tomorrowland and the preteens you go to Fantasyland with me.
Right. If there's a chance that you've got an extra adult that can go out and get fast passes for Space Mountain, do that first while everyone else heads to Fantasyland. I think that's a good strategy. This is a great question, actually. You could do a lot of different things with this.
I would also add that if this person does not have an annual pass or a seasonal pass or something, if they're using tickets, I don't think it'd be worth it for them to burn a day on that arrival day, do you?
Well, what time of the day, Matt, are they getting there?
It was afternoon.
Yeah, I would burn it only if there's an extra magic evening involved.
That's fair. Next question is from David, and Annette, David's new to Walt Disney World, so I think maybe you might want to handle this one. David from Yorkville, Illinois writes, I just bought an annual pass. Can I use it to get into more than one park per day?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Jump around, have fun.
Yeah, the annual passes provide park hopping to all the parks as many times as you'd like. Next email is from Paul S. in Seattle. He writes, this is probably a question for Len or maybe the fabulous Annette. I recently heard on another podcast, which I only listened to fill in the voids between Monday, Wednesday, Friday fixes, that you can use Walt Disney World tickets at Disneyland, but not vice versa, because the tickets are cheaper.
Yes.
Since my fiance and I will try to visit both each year, I found this intriguing. We do Halloween and food and wine in Florida, usually 7 days, and then Christmas in California, 2 or 3 days. Mm-hmm. I priced out a 10-day Walt Disney World no expiration park hopper at $504, figuring our 7-day trip to the world and weekend in Disneyland. Then I priced a 7-day Walt Disney World hopper and 3-day Disneyland hopper, $286 and $179 respectively, which only costs $465. Unless you're going from Florida directly to Anaheim and can use the tickets without having to buy the no expiration, I'm not sure that I can see how it makes financial sense unless you have the Walt Disney World tickets and don't foresee yourself going back to Florida. It would seem at the cost per day you're better off buying a Disneyland ticket and saving the World tickets for a later trip. Am I missing anything that would make this a good deal?
I'm going to suggest this new ticket. If they are definitely going to Florida and the Florida theme parks as well as the Anaheim theme parks over the course of the year, then they may want to consider this new ultimate annual pass that covers both Walt Disney World and Disneyland. But that's something they're going to have to decide on their own.
Len, what do you think about if they're going for if they're going to stick with the regular tickets, like a not annual pass?
It's hard to see how it's a good use of money because you can walk into any Disneyland area hotel and get substantial discounts on those passes. That's I think that's why Disney wants you to or allows you to use the more expensive ticket to get into Disneyland, because as far as they're concerned, you paid $80 to get into a $55 park.
Right.
That's why they do it, not any sort of weird convenience thing or anything like that. And but I think if you think you're going back to Walt Disney World, my advice is to pop into any of the nearby Anaheim hotels, pick up a discounted pass, and use that. You really can save just a bundle of money doing it that way.
Good. Next email is from Lawrence from New Haven, Connecticut. Grace, thanks for such an informative and funny haha, not funny, strange show.
Funny musing. Go ahead.
All other things being equal, are there better days of the week for the Halloween party than others in terms of crowds? For example, are Tuesdays less crowded than Thursdays versus Sundays and Fridays? Or should I just follow the crowd calendar for overall attendance and draw some conclusions?
I was going to say, I mean, it's pretty clear that Tuesday and possibly the Thursday nights are going to be the best nights because you're probably not going to get locals there on those nights, and a lot of people will plan on having a long Friday night or a long Saturday night so they can sleep in. And I think that the only thing would be if that particular Tuesday night is an annual pass holder or a DVC discount night, you may have a larger than normal Tuesday night crowd. But for my money, Tuesday nights would be the ones that I always try to focus on.
Yeah, so a couple of things. If you're going in September, I think the
doesn't matter.
Yeah, Tuesdays in September, relatively uncrowded. Right? I mean, that's that's just because the holiday is more than 6 weeks away or whatever. The closer you get to the holiday, and especially the closer you get to the weekend before the holiday, you're going to get larger crowds. I think in 2009 there were not to scare Halloween parties every other day before so like literally like the 18th, 20th, 22nd, 23rd, 25th, 27th, 29th, 31st. There were Mickey's not to scare Halloween parties, as well as 3 times in the week before that. For that, it's I think school nights are going to be a little bit better, especially school nights towards the end of the week. I think actually a Thursday would be better than a Monday there, only because it's farther from a weekend. That's the thing. So go in September if you can, any day in September, early October. The days are going to be good. By the time you get towards the last couple of weeks of October, midweek is probably going to be better than anything else.
Good. Next email's from Carrie on the Space Coast, a.k.a. Titusville, Florida, who writes, I just recently started listening to your podcast after I heard Len on the Season Pass podcast.
Awesome.
He is my kind of people.
Awesome. Thanks.
As in, like, Soylent Green people?
Exactly. Soylent Green people!
Make room, Harry Harrison.
I was writing to offer some suggestions to answer Peter's question about dining experiences outside the parks. There are 2 great dining experiences I can recommend. Cafe Tutu Tango on I Drive.
Oh, yeah.
It has a really eclectic menu served tapas style. The decor is very bohemian, and it would not be out of the ordinary to find a fortune teller or flamenco dancers there on any given night. The other is Ichiban on Orange Avenue in downtown Orlando. Their sushi is awesome. I became a sushi convert after eating there 10 years ago and have hooked ever since. They have a sushi roll there called the Rock and Roll that is my absolute favorite.
Bubba loves both places.
For sushi, and a lot closer than downtown Orlando, I like Sukihana over on it's in the Town Square section of Town Center Boulevard. It's by what's that area of town called? It doesn't matter. It's right off 417. It's
the place of that part of town.
Everything's off 417.
Yeah, and they have a great.
It's off of I-4.
Ichiban is off I-4, but this is off 417.
417. We're off of 417. North or south?
North, like going towards the airport from Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
Sukihana, they've got $21.95 all you can eat sushi and dinner Sunday through Thursday. I really like it. I go there all the time.
$21.95 all you can eat sushi?
And it's good sushi. Yeah.
Dude, I could eat $21.95 worth of sushi.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
I'm pretty sure I could.
Next email is from Janice Albers of Montevideo, Minnesota, the land of Anne.
Montevideo?
The Count of Montevideo? Oh, no.
Montevideo is in Uruguay.
Yes, and it's also in Minnesota.
The land of Anne.
I really have to keep up with these earthquakes.
Someone in Uruguay came to Minnesota and said, boy, this looks a lot like home. My family and I are planning our first cruise on the Disney Wonder in June 2010 to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary and our daughter's high school graduation. It's a 4-day Caribbean cruise. Though it's not a land and sea package, we would like to spend 2 to 3 days in the parks as well while we're in Florida. I would like everyone's opinions, pros and cons, on whether to go to Walt Disney World before or after the cruise.
Wow.
And you can, go ahead.
You're asking the wrong people because it's not a Mouse cruise.
I like after because I think I would rather you go on the cruise, which is a lot of fun, and then you come back afterwards, and why not enjoy some more time over there? Because I feel like the 4-day cruise goes by so fast, and when I drive over to the cruise line, I see all those buses coming the opposite direction back to the
like take me
airport. Yeah, it's like
take me.
You don't want it to be over. Yeah.
And it's over. So why not kind of? I think it would be better. What are you thinking of?
Well, I actually like to go to the parks afterwards for several reasons. One is that, you're just not ready to go home. But another is you've had all that great food on the ship. A couple of days of walking around a park isn't a bad thing. And actually, I've asked my kids what they prefer. And there's something about, just you still have something to look forward to. You rest, you relax on the cruise ship, and then you can go have your couple of days of running around trying to see everything and then go home.
See, I could do the other. I can do the running around
I would do the other
first,
one too. Yeah, exactly.
And then rest and relax.
That's exactly what I would.
Depends upon the person, I think.
It does.
I agree.
It does.
I agree.
No, I think there's one answer for everyone. That's always right. I like your idea. No, never mind. Your idea is right.
So, but ideally, then you would do 2 days pre and 2 days post, and do the cruise in the middle.
That's right.
Why not just move there, really?
It's all about compromise.
Next email's from Kevin Hain, Haen. How do you pronounce that?
Hain.
I'm listening to your episode 609 and have a question for a suggestion for the listener that is going to spend 3 weeks at Pop Century with 2 girls that don't want to share a bed. Your idea of buying a cot is a good one, except I'm not sure where you would set it up. Those rooms are so small that adding another bed would make it impossible to move around in. We have 2 boys that did not want to share a bed when we stayed at Pop Century, so we put 1 adult and 1 kid in each bed. That also gives the adults a little extra room too. Just another idea besides staying in a resort with larger rooms.
Oh man, it would totally not work for my daughter who sleeps diagonally.
Well, I was gonna say his kids sleep straight because mine sleep like an X-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Across the bed, so nobody else sleeps with them.
It's an X2. I'm just gonna say that. God. Yeah, I don't. You know, where would you put it? Yeah, that's right. You'd have to really move the table over as close as you could, sort of the little round or square table. You'd really have to move that as close to the dresser as you could, and then kind of wedge the cot diagonally by the. Yeah, I mean, you're hoping in a fire. You're just bouncing. You're hopping over the bed in a fire to get out. That's tough.
Next email is from Brian, who writes, "Hello to all, and thanks for the great information you provide. Even though Len should have known better than to tell his wife, not to tell his wife in advance about the 8-hour layover in Toronto."
Amen.
Yes.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
My wife and I are traveling to Orlando. We live in an Indiana city with direct air service to Orlando Sanford Airport, which of course means that we're not eligible for the Magical Express.
Yep.
Are there any shuttle or town car services that you would recommend that would take us from the airport to Walt Disney World at a reasonable cost? We only need the shuttle town car one way, as we have transportation covered at the end of our trip.
You know, I just did this, and no, they wouldn't do it. There is a
don't they?
No, Mears doesn't do it.
No, they don't.
I just answered this for someone like a month ago, and I forget. But if you look on the Sanford Airport website, there's a list of transportation options. If I recall correctly, it's like $30 each way, which wasn't bad. I'll have to look. Let me look real quick.
Sure. Well, while you're looking that up, Len. Next email is from Gina Bernhardt of Appleton, Wisconsin, who writes, "My husband and I love your show. We're heading to Walt Disney World for Marathon next year and have a question regarding the use of tickets to the parks. In the past, we've purchased the Hopper option, but found we don't really use it enough to justify the additional cost, now $52. We plan to spend 4 or 5 days in each of the parks during this trip, and we're wondering if we purchased a 6 or 7 day pass, could we use one of the extra days on the ticket to enter? No, I already know what she's trying to go for. No, cannot use you need a park hopping option. Or 2 tickets, in which case it's really not worth it. You might as well get the park hopping option. Okay.
Matt, yeah, so one way from Sanford using the website transportation2disney.com is for the Magic Kingdom resorts, it's $105. Animal Kingdom resorts, it's $105. All of the Disney area resorts, $95. That's for 4 people.
Cool. Thank you.
Could it be cheaper to rent a car at Sanford?
Yeah, I was gonna say it might be a better idea just to rent a car do Alamo or something that you can drop off over at the resorts.
Yeah,
since you don't need the tail end of the trip.
Or you know what you could do is rent the car at Sanford, drop it off at Orlando.
You pay a fee. I looked at that. It's
do you? Oh wow.
Well, some don't pay a fee. You got to look into it. Like I think Budget doesn't charge you a fee for one ways, but you have to look into it. You're right.
You have to look into it, but yeah, you can't just drive over. Yeah, you can't go right over to Orlando and then jump in onto the Magical Express.
Good. So. Next email is from Cheryl C. Klein 413 www.today.com from Westfield, Massachusetts. I have a question regarding something I've read in my unofficial guide. Sure. It notes that the ADR no-show rate for January is 33% and July is 10%. But what about the other months? And how does free dining impact that number? I've looked around touringplans.com, and if the information is there, I can't seem to find it.
It's a great question. So obviously it varies with the month depending on the crowds. So like from late March, mid-March through mid-April, for example, it's going to be closer to that 10% simply because of the holidays. Similarly, for summer months, it's going to be closer to the 10% as well. Whereas in September, early November-ish, it's going to be back up. Free dining definitely impacts that, especially for the in-park restaurants. I remember, what was it, Food and Wine, Matt, a couple of years ago when we not last Food and Wine, but the Food and Wine before that, where we remember we were going around sampling one of everything.
Yes.
And then we for some reason we decided to be gluttonous and actually sit down for dinner. And we actually couldn't find a sit down restaurant in World Showcase that had any walk up capacity because everyone else had already taken.
Not even Morocco?
Not even Morocco. Everything was full. Everyone had signs out front that said, "Look, because of the dining popularity of the dining plan, we're not taking any more walk-ups." So I think there are times when it is 100% full and where people are just saying, "Look, we're not gonna take walk-ups."
Next email is from Erica from Villa Rica, Georgia. Mousica on WDWtoday.com.
Hoorah.
Right, I love the podcast. Y'all have so much great information and are so funny that you make learning fun. I seriously doubt that you'll get to my question in time, but here's miracles do happen. We're traveling with some friends whose kids insist that we ride the Indy Speedway.
Awesome.
We normally skip this one altogether. It's just not worth the wait, and we have no trouble convincing our own 11 and 12-year-old boys of this, but they are adamant. I'm wondering if you have any advice for me that's making fitting this ride into our touring plan as painless as possible. I subscribe to touringplans.com and see that this ride is placed right behind Space Mountain on the 4 to 8-year-old boys plan and before Buzz Lightyear.
Yep.
Is that the only time of the day it's feasible? With Space Mountain closed, it's not closed anymore, but
yeah.
Will we be waiting forever if we try and go back to this ride one later in the day? Thanks for all you do. Please don't stop the podcast. I'm hopelessly addicted.
Please don't stop the music.
Thanks, Madonna.
Yeah, no, it was actually Rihanna. Rihanna, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So actually, I think Scopo was the one that gave me this advice, but he said go right before or right after the 3:00 parade, and it usually the parade usually draws enough people from that area of Tomorrowland that the waits are relatively low. If you really make a beeline for it, right after the parade, you can usually get in with like a 15-minute or less wait. That's the other time to go.
Yep, that's true. Usually around mid-afternoon, Lynn.
And Matt, I think so. Matt, have I read to you the new Unofficial Guide Color Companion review for Tomorrowland Speedway?
Absolutely not. Please go ahead, sir.
The Speedway is an elaborate miniature raceway with gasoline-powered cars that travel up to 7 miles an hour. With its sleek cars and racing noises, it is quite alluring. Unfortunately, the cars poke along on a guide rail, leaving the driver little to do. Even with the guide rail, however, the steering wheel seems to be completely unconnected to the actual bits that steer the car. We're not the best.
That is so true.
We're not the best drivers in the world, but we're always thrashed side to side on the speedway like some sort of children's toy caught in the washing machine. And you spend so much energy pushing down the gas pedal in a futile attempt to go faster that your right leg is useless quivering jelly for an hour after you ride. When asked why you're limping, mutter something about an old character meal injury and say that you don't want to talk about it. Then throw in, "I'll get you, Mary Poppins," in a barely audible whisper. The 54-inch height requirement to drive excludes small children who would most enjoy the ride. Yes, that's an actual book that I...
You're so right about the alignment. It has I think those cars have the alignment of like a dreidel. I mean,
it's like a drunken sailor spinning a top. I mean, it's just like left to right. Really, I really think that it's entirely disconnected. I don't know what I mean. It's definitely not rack and pinion or McPherson steering in any of those things.
Yeah, I've sworn that there's like a magnet system going, just trying to make you run into it.
Time for the last question of the day, and that means I'll give Mike Newell 3 emails to choose from. One gets read today, the other 2 go back into the email queue to be answered later. Are you ready, Mike?
Since I'm not feeling well, I am not responsible for the outcome of the question answered.
Your options are infant, toddlers, and Disney World vacation. Oh my!
Ooh.
All my money's in Disney's tickets. Look what you've done to me.
Ooh. Look what you've done to me, baby. Yeah, let's go with look what you've done to me.
Last email of the day is from Howard Porter of Toronto, Canada. That's in Europe.
What?
What?
I believe it's right next to Uruguay. Going on my earlier. It's next to Minnesota.
That's a Yeehaw Bob reference.
It's up north.
Hello, fine friends. Sorry for the long note. I hope you'll indulge me. I really felt the need to write. You see, I'm actually in the world right now, and it seemed remiss not to send you an email while I'm actually here. I'm writing you from the lobby of the Wilderness Lodge Hotel, where my family and I are having a wonderful, very chock full of fabulous unofficial guide touring plans and a multitude of terrific suggestions culled from numerous WDW Today podcasts. So since I never miss an episode of your podcast and have made it a regular part of my weekly routine, I've got to say that it's the the strangest thing seems to be happening to me. Here I am, actually at Walt Disney World, and I only get to come visit every few years, and we're walking up Main Street USA, say, or riding Toy Story Mania. I found myself thinking a number of times, I wonder if I'm missing out on the podcast right now. I mean, that's scary, right? Like so many other listeners, I first tuned in to you guys to get to fill a little Disney void in my life, and now even when I'm actually here, I miss you. And not to, oh boy.
Aww.
And not only that, but our trip is being influenced by your happy gang in other ways too. For example, in walking around World Showcase a couple days ago, I kept looking in every pavilion for the snacks everybody was forced to consume on the reunion sip and snack recently.
I can't even look at those anymore, man.
I feel so good when I'd spot the super sour candies or the little chip shop.
Fortunately, the tea place in China was refurbished last time I went.
Also, my kids and I have wrestled with other all week who who gets to submit the standby times and fast pass times into the Lines app on my iPhone. How
I love it.
Filled with glee each time we've leveled up.
That's awesome.
And how about this? None of us had ever been to Ellen's Energy Adventure before, but hearing the Stupid Judy Stupid Energy quote on your sign off every day, it has become part of my lexicon. So for sure we had to do that attraction this time. So we started our day at Epcot, grabbing our Soarin' and Fast Passes, riding Test Track and Mission Space, then we headed to see Ellen. So we walk over and a cast member quickly ushers us directly inside. Terrific, I think. Happy that we wouldn't have to wait too long outside for the next show to begin. But as we enter, it had already begun. It's right near the start, obviously, or they wouldn't have let us in, right? Anyway, we see the whole Jeopardy thing, and we go inside the theater, and our seats start to move. And all along, I'm waiting and waiting for the line. My daughter is on this too, and she keeps whispering to me, asking me when Ellen is going to say it. We go through the whole ride thing, and it never comes. And although the ride is fun and interesting, I can't tell you how disappointed I felt, realizing that it had obviously been in the first few moments we had missed it. Anyway, after stewing over it for a while, I finally made my whole family go back on the
You should have gone back. There's an hour of your life gone.
An hour and a half.
Yeah, that's right.
Did they sleep the next time on the ride? There you go.
This time we heard the line, yay, and after about 3 minutes we quickly slipped out of the exit. Mission accomplished. Stupid Judy.
That's great.
Okay, so I feel guilty because I didn't actually have a question, but thanks again for all your fun and knowledge and insight. You're helping me make our special family trip great and have put a unique spin on it, raising a dole to all of you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's great.
That is awesome, yeah.
Very, very good. Thank you, Howard, and thank you everyone who sent in their questions this week. And don't forget that this episode of WDW Today has been sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. You know, you may have heard earlier in the show, Kim from Maryland was talking about how much a great time she had at Reunion last year and 10 Fest this year. And you may be saying, boy, Kim is a smart girl. I mean, she picked Newell, but no one's perfect. But, she got everything else going for her.
She is perfect.
And, I want to be like Kim, and I want to go to these kind of events. Well, you know what? Reunion is coming up in 2010. I know it's in December, but why not plan your trip right now? Go over to www.mousefantravel.com, check out their packages for Reunion, and book your package right now, so that way you can be assured of having a Kim-type experience at Walt Disney World. Check them out online, Mouse Fan Travel, that is, at www.mousefantravel.com. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, and the fabulous Annette Owens, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.